Hey guys, it's Mr. Excitement, Mike Howerton here at Area 51 Alien Factory, back for another video. We are rolling on in this recording session tonight here with the Admiral, Tracy Rumschlag. Admiral, how you doing tonight?
Hey, drop your beer, grab your gear. The Admiral's here. Hey, I'm doing good tonight.
All right, guys, if you have not done so yet, go ahead and hit down and hit that subscribe button. It's greatly appreciated. And the best thing you can do if you want to help out our channel is to share this video, share it on Discord, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, anywhere that you go that you can share links to videos. We're trying to get this in front of as many iRacers that are starting out as we can to try to help everybody out and really get them going in iRacing. So, Trace, what do you got for us in this video?
Well, what we're going to do is when you first start iRacing and you start progressing through your license levels, we go from the D license ARCA car, which is a fixed setup, and then you graduate into your C fixed, C open, and this is the first area where most people can start dabbling that want to get into setups. Okay, so what we have is the C open truck. And what I want to do is I just want to kind of graze over it and give people an idea of what the limits are. Like in the previous videos we had with our B open stuff, we actually went through the components. This one I'm just going to highlight a little more. So if you give me just a second, I will bring our screen up. All right, so we're in the C open garage. And this is more introductory for most people because we haven't covered any of this yet. And what I want to do is try to help accelerate your learning curve, okay? There's no reason that we should just throw you a blank piece of paper and then you guys try to figure it out, because I'm going to give you a starting point. You can always use iRacing. They have their starting point. But for me, when I go to a new chassis, I want to make it most active I can. So it will react to any changes that I make subtly and not have to work a long time to try to get it to react. So let's go over it right now. So at Martinsville, this particular chassis, once again, the left side tire pressures for the short tracks are usually 22 minimums, right side, and also 28. This one is 22. So it is that, okay? And then on the left sides, I think the minimum is 10, and it is, okay? So we have 10 on the lefts and 22 on the rights. Now, my particular setup has 12s. That's just what I found on my test time that I thought felt the best. So that's what I'm going to go with, is what's known as a 10-pound split. And what I mean by split is it's the difference in tire pressure from the right side to the left side. You notice that the cold pressures, there's 10 pounds difference. So that's a 10-pound split. That's where I'm going to start. That's usually pretty realistic, anywhere between 10 and 15. So the chassis, what we need to do is now the first thing is we got to establish what the minimum ride heights are, okay? Because we need to know how low we can go and still pass tech. So in this particular chassis, in the rear is 6 inches. Okay, that's why it's blinking yellow. Because if I go lower, you'll notice it goes red. Well, red's saying it won't pass tech. Okay, so I need to find that baseline so I know how low I can go. We don't want the thing really jacked up in the air, especially here. Because what we're going to do is we're just going to have a monster truck and it just will not handle as well as it should. So we'll put that back. On the front, I'm at 4.76. In reality, I can go as low as 4.750, but I'm like one click in and one click out. So this is where it landed, okay? Also, and this is the difference between when you guys get into the B car, B open versus C open. This ballast forward in the B car we had mentioned in previous videos is 28 inches. Well, you'll notice here in the truck, it's not 28 inches. You can actually go to a minus value, which is minus 24. Okay. So, and meaning that the nose weight is now just a tenth past 50%. So it's almost balanced front to back. Okay, but we'll get into this a little bit later. But the biggest thing is the C open truck chassis. You don't get into those variables when you go to the intermediate track or when you go to the high speed track, that kind of stuff. This 24 is pretty consistent, I believe, on all the tracks. So that's a plus for this truck or for this chassis, because you don't have to remember a lot of things when you get into the B, like you would in the B car, where those variables change. So this one, that's why a lot of guys like working on a truck and they really don't like getting into the B open because it just becomes complicated. So I'll go back to my my minus 17 inches in ballast forward. But the key is we're not interested in the actual inches. We're actually interested in the percentage of nose weight. So that's, if you guys will work into percentages, you'll actually be better off, because let's say you want to compare this nose weight. Maybe you want to try this setup that you had on a B car, similar balance wise, nose weight, cross weight stuff. In the C truck, you'll need to know those percentages. That's the key. The percentages don't lie. Okay. So that's where we want to work. This number value up here is just a reference. That's all it is. It doesn't mean anything at all. Okay. So anyways, so we have the minimum settings. We also have the percentages and the nose weight. That's the big areas that are here. Now, in the front, so you just came out of the ARCA car, you have a fixed setup. Believe it or not, that car there, if you were doing open setups in the ARCA car, does do a coil bind. And what I mean by a coil bind is you're taking a soft spring that actually collapses to a point where it actually compresses on itself. It actually becomes one, like almost a whole piece by itself, where it won't travel any further. And this is where you guys are going to have to learn how to set the front end, okay? And what we're going to deal with is we need to look at the spring deflection numbers, okay? And what the values are, like in this particular case, is 4.50 inches of 6.98. Now, so if you watched our spring video in the B car, you'll notice that those the springs are in what's known as families or heights, however you want to refer to it. I refer to them as families. So this basically is a 6-inch spring, okay? But we have collapsed it because we're only using 340 pounds. And the only way we can stop this is to coil bind the front end. We don't have bump springs or anything like that that are going to help assist that front end in staying up. So you have to be careful what you do. And a lot of people get this backwards. So be mindful of this particular value here, okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to subtract the 450. Let's round it off and make it 6, okay? Just for argumentative sakes. So you're actually talking, there's an 1.5 inch gap here, okay? Right now, an inch and a half of travel before the thing engages, okay? So the other thing is the ride height here is at 4.7. Well, when this gets to be around 3 inches, let's say when you're on the track dynamically and it comes down on the track, by the time you get to roughly 3 inches, and you'll see it in Motec, is when the front splitter starts hitting the track, okay? Just as a reference, and that's for guys using Motec. If you're using the camera view, you'll just have to do the rear chase and get down to the track up by the splitter and watch and see if it goes underneath the artwork in iRacing. So, but how this works, okay, if let's say your splitter's really, really high off the ground and you need to bring it down, then what you have to do is you have to increase the spring rate, okay? So my suggestion at the start, when you're first beginning to do this, okay, is you need to uncheck the front ARB, because if you notice there's a preload in there, okay? And a lot of times that'll kind of get things crossed up. So let's unattach it. I'll hit apply and you'll notice everything goes crazy, okay? So now we're at 477, but we were at 476 before, but let's say I need to bring it down some. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this spring and I'm going to go up in rate, okay? I'm going to go higher and I'm only going to go 20 pounds. I just want to see what it does, okay? I'm going to hit apply. And I got to remember that this is now 476 or 477 without the bar attached. So let me drop the spring perch now to 477. Okay, 76.5, close enough for me. I'm within 1 click. Yeah, so we'll go 1 click. Hit apply, reattach the bar, see how it comes out. And there you go. There's our 476. So you're saying, well, what did that do? Well, if you remember, we were at 4.5 of roughly 6, right? I think it was 598, but we'll call it 6. Now we're at 4.25, okay? So subtract the 4.25 from 6, okay? Now you have 1.750 or 1 3/4 of an inch instead of 1.5. So now you have an additional 1/4 inch that splitter can come down before you actually get the coil bind, okay? And that's how we systematically drop the front splitter in the truck, Okay, so keep that in mind. So don't think that you're going to just put a softer spring in it and it's going to do that. That's not how these work, not on a coil bind. If you did that, then what would happen is you'd compress the spring more in the garage, and then when you went out on the track, you'd have less travel. So it works kind of opposite of what common sense would tell you. So keep that in mind. If you need the front splitter to drop in the truck, go with a higher value on the spring. Okay, now here's the trick. You have to make sure that your left and right sides have enough clearance, because sometimes you may have a left front coil bind or you may have a right front coil bind. Okay, and how you determine that is, once again, you subtract the smaller amount. In this particular case on the right front is 345, and we'll round this off and make this roughly 6 again. Okay, so now we have just a little over an inch and a half here. I'm sorry, 2.5 inches here in travel. This is an inch and a half, inch and 3/4 as it sits now, and this is 2.5 inches here. Okay, a little over, just a couple ticks. But so now that's telling me that I have enough travel on the right-hand side, because I've ran into times where I've set the nose and I can't get the right side to come down when we roll the chassis, like roll it to the right. And what'll happen is the right front actually was coil binding on me, and I wasn't paying attention. And you'll find that a lot if you use the same amount of spring deflection in both the left side and the right side. It's best to keep the right side a little more open. And depending on what your cross weight is, and I don't want to throw too much at you, your cross weight will dictate a lot of that. So in this particular case, I'm at my minimum spring, which is a 300. So 300 is the minimum, and I have plenty of travel here. It's 2.5 inches, so we're good on the right side. The left side is the one we're going to use for setting the nose in this particular case. Okay, so that's how that works. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you in Motec what I'm looking at. Okay, and this will give you a better visual. So guys that have Motec, now you can see the channels that I'm using and the squiggly lines or the traces that I use. So give me a second and I'll flick over to that, and hopefully you see Motec. So what we have is in Motec here, you'll see that I have different colors, and those colors are the frame heights. Okay, red is the right rear, green is the left rear of the truck. The blue, what you see here, is the average ride height. I use that for what's known as rake, which is tilting of the chassis up and down. That's a tuning aid right there. The front, the left front is in like a light blue, and then the orange frame height is on the right front. Okay, but those colors correspond to my traces here. And once again, like we've shown in a previous video, at the top I have a graph or a tab, whatever you want to call it, that tells me what part of the track I'm on. So I have turn 1, turn 2, the back straightaway, third turn, fourth turn, and then front straightaway. So what I do is I take my cursor, and I'm only interested in the top right here. These are the frame heights. And also the splitter is in purple. That's the middle right here. So what I'm interested in is I want to see what the front end's doing. Okay, so as we drag the cursor, you'll notice that the traces are moving. Well, that's what the front end's doing, because I have sensors up there that tell me that. Okay, and as we go, the two things we're looking for is the splitter itself, which is this purple indicator right here, and this line. We want that as low as we can get without hitting, because every time you hit, then the front end comes off and it won't turn, won't stop. We don't want that. We want to make sure it's, with braking so hard, we want to give it a little extra room. The frame heights, what we're looking at is we would like to get them level as possible. Okay, the more level it is, the better it's going to be in the long run. Okay, and that's why I have the digital numbers on the top, because you can actually see. So when I'm working with somebody, whether it be a driver or a team, if I'm co-oping and we're working on their team setup, whatever the case may be, or depicting, tearing apart a set that they're doing, I can show them the numbers and they can see firsthand what I'm looking at, right? So you'll notice the ideal setting is obviously if these match identical, they do float. In real life, they float, but as long as we can keep them as close as we can, once we have this coil bind, like I said, this purple line doesn't smash the white line. If it's smashing the white line, it's into the track. But we have it up a little bit, and then that way when you go on and brake really hard, you still got some room for tire squish and other things that are not really taken in consideration, just to make sure that the nose stays off the track. So anyways, so that's my world right there, Mike, in terms of C-Open. I'm going to throw it right back to you.
All right, Trace, thanks. We appreciate that introduction and the first look here at setting up the trucks and C open in iRacing. And like you said, a lot of guys they start moving up, and the goal almost always is to get to the Cup Series. Most guys, like when they start iRacing, the first thing they want to do is say, "I want to get to the Cup Series," and they start off to the races to get there. But to get there, you got to pass through C Open, you got to pass through B Open, and some people like me along the way fall in love with one of those series. I fell in love with
Well,
the
remember the
B
C
Open.
Open is the Road to Pro truck. That's the first step right there. So keep that in mind too. To the truck is the start of your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, but some people fall in love with the trucks. We have a guy that's been on our team for for a couple of years, and he's been inactive lately. But his name's Chris Jenkins, and Chris loves the trucks. He just fell in love with the trucks, and he stays there. And he races some B open with us occasionally, but he really loves the trucks. Where me and most of the guys on the team, we fell in love with the B car and stayed there. So you guys may, as you're working up through, fall in love with one of these series and stay there. But really the goal is to get to the A car. But in order to get there, you have to go through the trucks and you have to go through the Xfinity cars. So we appreciate Tracy taking the time out tonight to really give us the introduction to these truck setups. And I know that we're going to have you back in another video here coming up soon. And I'm sure you'll go in a little more in depth in the trucks for us. But this video tonight, I think, really starts to get people headed and pointed in the right direction as they start out in the C Open or the trucks, the Open Truck Series in iRacing. So really appreciate that, Tracy. And if you guys have not done so yet, we just ask, go down, hit that subscribe button. It is much appreciated. And if you really want to help the channel out, you can share this video on Facebook, Twitter, Discord, anywhere that you can share it. We'd appreciate that. It helps get the word out about the channel and helps get this video in front of as many iRacers as we can, trying to help everybody out as much as possible. Also, there's a bell icon down there. You hit that, turn it on, and you get notified every single time we post new content to the channel. And if you really appreciate Tracy taking his time out to go over this content with you, give him a big old smack on that thumbs up like button and let him know that you appreciate this content. So glad you're here with us. Also, down in the description, you might want to check it out. There's there's an affiliate link, some promo codes. There's some stuff going down in the description. Go down, check it out. Might be able to save you some money when purchasing setups from a setup shop. We have a few promo codes and affiliate links down below. So go check those out as well as we're finishing out the video. As the video ends. But we really appreciate you sticking with us through the whole thing. Again, this is Mike Howerton here at Area 51, and my partner in crime tonight, Tracy Rumschlag, affectionately known as the Admiral. For both of us and everyone else here at Area 51, appreciate everything you do and watching these videos and being with us. And as always, we will see you in the next one.